Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jataha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishakhan Vitamscha Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tishe Nama Nityanandam Namastubhyam Premananda Pradayane Kalo Kalmasha Nashaya Janava Pataye Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Brindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namah Bhaktya Vihina Aparadha Lakshai Kshiptascha Kamari Taranga Madhye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta, Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Astatarasata, Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. And then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Astotarsata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. and Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Astotarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering my Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Shri Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga. And my Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. So yesterday, the last thing that we read was Lord Indra's statement. And this was to Lord Nrsingadev. And he told to Lord Nrsingadev, O Supreme One, these demons talk of our share of participation in the performances of ritualistic sacrifices. But simply by your appearance as Lord Nrsingadev, you have saved us from terrible fears. Actually, our shares in the sacrificial performances, they are due to you only, because you are the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices. You are the super soul of every living entity, and therefore you are the actual owner of everything. Long were our hearts always filled with fear of this demon Hiranyakashipu. But you are so kind toward us that by killing him, you have removed that fear from within our hearts and have given us the chance to place your lordship within our hearts again. For persons who are engaged in the transcendental loving service of your lordship, all the opulences which were taken away from us by the demons, they are counted as nothing. Devotees do not care, even for liberation. So what to speak of these material opulences? Actually, we are not enjoyers of the fruits of sacrifices. Our only duty is to always be engaged in your service, for you are the enjoyer of everything. Then Srila Prabhupada gives a purport to this statement by Lord Indra. He says, the purport of this statement by Indra is that beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, no living entities are meant for enjoying the material opulences. None are meant for that. They are simply meant for offering everything to the Supreme Proprietor, the Personality of Godhead. And by doing so, they automatically enjoy the benefit. And then what classic example did Srila Prabhupada give in this regard?
Parts of the body.
Huh?
Parts of the body.
Tell.
Well, if we feed the stomach properly, then all the different parts of the body are nourished. Similarly, if we offer everything to Krishna, then all the different parts of everything in our lives is nourished.
Mm-hmm. The example can be cited again of the different parts of the body, collecting foodstuffs and cooking them so that ultimately a meal may be offered to the stomach. And after it has gone to the stomach, all the parts of the body equally enjoy the benefit of the meal. So similarly, everyone's duty is to satisfy the Supreme Lord, and then automatically everyone will become satisfied. How true it is, because this is the missing understanding in the world today. isn't it? It's missing. Completely missing that God is the supreme enjoyer. He has created everything. He's created us. He has put everything here for our use. All the fruits, all the seeds and the plants and everything that exists. It's all given by Him. And all that we have to do, very simple. We have to recognize. We have to meditate upon this fact in our life. That I am meant for serving Him, and everything that comes to me is from Him, so it is also meant for serving Him. And when He enjoys it, then I can enjoy, not before. Very simple principle. What is that verse? Yat karoshi, yat ashnashi, yat juhosi, dadasi yat. Yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva mad arpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer in sacrifice, whatever charity that you give, whatever tapasya austerities that you perform, you should do that for my sake. Tat kurushva mad arpanam. For my sake. Mad arpanam means for me. So this is the solution to all the problems in the material world that the jivas are undergoing. Because by the principle of sacrifice, then the Lord is satisfied. And when the Lord is satisfied, then we become satisfied. Just like the hand and the stomach, like that. It's exactly like that. This is not some kind of fanciful analogy, but this is actually scientifically exactly like that. So He is the stomach, and without it first going to the stomach, then the other parts of the body cannot be nourished. So actually, what we're seeing in the material world is severe malnourishment of the jivas, isn't it? Severe. So, and it's because of lack of knowledge, lack of direction, lack of leadership, proper association in the human society. So now we move on, and there's a similar verse found in 8th canto, 3rd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 20. And there Gajendra, again we're coming to Gajendra's prayers. He says there, My dear Lord, I have no experience of the transcendental bliss derived from your devotional service. So therefore I have asked from you some favor. But I know that persons who are pure devotees and have, by serving the lotus feet of great souls, become freed from all material desires, they are always merged in the ocean of transcendental bliss, and as such they are always satisfied simply by glorifying your auspicious characteristics, and for them there is nothing else to aspire to or pray for. I'll just see all these verses lining up, expressing this one important principle, that the pure devotees have nothing to desire and to ask the Lord for, only to be engaged in His devotional service. So here Gajendra is admitting that he is not a pure devotee. He's telling to the Lord that I have no experience of the transcendental bliss derived from your devotional service, and therefore I have asked from you some favor. So when someone comes to that platform where they're relishing and tasting, I said that yesterday, the stage of ruchi, then nadanam, najanam, nasundarim. That 4th shloka is the stage of ruchi in the Sikshastakam, represents that. But there's no other desires for anything. So now in the 9th canto of the Bhagavatam, in the 4th chapter, verse 67, the Lord of Vaikuntha replies to Durvasa Muni thus. When did he reply to Durvasa Muni?
Sudarshan Chakra was chasing him all over the universe.
Yep.
And then Durvasa Muni's trying to find some shelter. He went to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva said, I can't help you, go to Lord Krishna. And now he's going to...
He defended Ambarish Maharaj.
Yep. He wanted to kill Ambarish Maharaj. Just imagine. Because he broke his Ekadasi with some Sharanamrita. Without, first of all, waiting for him to come back from his bathing. Such a tiny, insignificant thing, but it was all important for Ambarish Maharaj. Otherwise, his entire year of austerities and honoring Ekadasi and everything would have been not getting the result. If you don't break Ekadasi by that time, you don't get the result. That's happened. It's happened. This is recently to me, because I didn't look the day before. And there was a very small window. Remember that?
This last
To break, huh?
The last one?
I don't remember. I think it was 2 Ekadasis ago. You know? And I was even thinking, oh, I should check. But I didn't check in time. And then I looked, and it was just a few minutes after. I thought, okay, serves me right for not being diligent enough. Huh? Yes. So anyway, Durvasa Rishi became enraged because he's also an expansion of Lord Shiva. He can get quite angry. And then what did he do? Pulled a lock of hair from his head. And with mantras, he threw it, and this demon was immediately created. Very ferocious, very frightful demon. And then he ordered, kill him. And he was coming towards Ambarish Maharaj, who wasn't even budging or moving, palms folded, feeling himself to be an offender. Oh, I've offended the Rishi. So, just as that demon was getting close, suddenly in the sky came the Sudarshan Chakra. We have him just here on our altar. He loves to be next to his lordship, Sudarshan. So, Sudarshan Chakra zoomed down and completely destroyed that demon. The Sudarshan Chakra is the ultimate weapon in the creation. And even time is dependent upon Sudarshan Chakra.
Isn't it a manifestation of Lord Vishnu?
Yes, also that. Yes. So then, the Sudarshan began to speed toward Durvasa Rishi. And when he saw it coming towards him, he flew up into the sky in complete terror and began moving as fast as he could. Now, of course, we know that if Sudarshan wanted to catch up with him and destroy him, it was very easily possible, right? But it kept staying some distance behind and burning him from behind. And why was that?
Ambarish Maharaj was praying for him.
Yes. Ambarish Maharaj was praying to Sudarshan, please don't burn the Rishi.
Didn't Gurudev say that Durvasa was actually performing a lila, whereby he would show the glories of the Vaishnava?
Yes, that's one of the main purports of the story. At the end, that becomes evident because he began to glorify Ambarish Maharaj, you see. But yeah, Durvasa Rishi, he's a great Vaishnava, but he performs these different types of pastimes which are not so easy to understand, right? So in this case, actually what he was doing also was he was laying the foundation of the understanding of forgiveness from the Vaishnava, because this is the praman, this is the evidence from Srimad Bhagavatam that the Lord himself, Lord Narayan himself, is telling to Durvasa Rishi that I can't help you. Just imagine, the Lord, who's the controller of Sudarshan, says to Durvasa, who falls at his feet directly, that I cannot help you. I'm not independent of my pure devotees. Huh? And I'm completely dependent upon them, and they are in my heart, and I am in their heart. So you'll have to go to Durvasa. And then, to Ambarish, yes. So then Durvasa sped all the way back and fell at the lotus feet of Ambarish Maharaj. And Ambarish Maharaj raised his hand, praying to Sudarshan. And then Sudarshan disappeared. And then Durvasa Rishi said, today I have seen with my own eyes the glories of the pure devotees. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Radha Govinda Ji Jai. Why? How have I seen it? I saw it with my own eyes, because here is the person whom I tried to kill, but all that he did in response was to pray for my well-being. You see? So yes, that was the main purpose of this pastime. So the Lord of Vaikuntha replies to Durvasa Muni thus: my pure devotees are always satisfied being engaged in devotional service, and therefore they do not aspire even after the 5 liberated stages, which are to be one with me, to achieve residence on my planet, to have my opulences, to possess bodily features similar to mine, and to gain personal association with me. So, when they are not interested even in these liberated positions, you can know how little they care for material opulences or material liberation. If even those 5, they're not interested in what to speak of, material, you see. There's one verse by Prabodhananda Saraswati which Srila Prabhupada would quote from his Chaitanya Chandramrita, glorifying the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. How those devotees who have received the merciful sidelong glance of Gora, this is what they think about this world and the things of this world. Kaivalya narakayate. They think that this merging, liberation, which is so sought after by the impersonalists, is simply tantamount to going to hell. Naraka. Kaivalya narakayate. Tri dashapur akasha pushpayate. And the flower in the sky, akasha pushpa. That is what the going to the Tri Dashapur means, the higher planetary system, Svargalok, all of that enjoyment is like Akasha Pushpa, which means what? It means meaningless. It means something imaginary only, imaginary, imagining that a flower is growing in the sky. Durdan Tendriya Kala Sarpa Patali Protkata Damstrayate. Then the next thing he says, for these pure devotees who have received the merciful sidelong glance of Gora, then these senses, which are very difficult to control, they're compared to a Kala Sarpa, black snake, poisonous black snake with poison fangs. But in the case of these devotees of Lord Gauranga, they have absolutely no problem, because for them, this black snake has had its fangs completely removed. Then he says, Vishvam Purnam Sukhayate. Vishvam means this universe. Purnam Sukhayate, full of happiness. He sees the whole universe full of happiness. Why? Because he's relishing and tasting Krishna Prem. Then he says, Vishvam Purnam Sukhayate, Vidhi Mahendra Dischakitayate. Vidhi Mahendra Adi. Vidhi means Lord Brahma, and Mahendra means Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva. Brahma, Shiva, Adi, and all the other great demigods. What does he see their position? Very high position. They're very big VIPs in the universe. You can't get higher than them. Presidents of our countries and so forth on this planet are nothing, right? So their position is so high and so respectable and so overwhelming. Their fame, their opulence, all of that, their powers. But what does the pure devotee see that as compared to? Vidhi Mahendra Discha Kitayate. Kitayate means kita, insect. Insect. How negligible the insects are to us humans. But to a pure devotee, he sees their material position within the universe as being no different, no better than an insect. Amazing, huh? So, then the last line is saying, Yat karunya kataksha vaibhavatam tam eva gora stuma. Tam eva gora stum. Yes, Yat Karunya Kataksha. That person who has received the Karunya Kataksha, the merciful sidelong glance. To him, the merciful sidelong glance of Gora. So to him, he sees like this. So same thing is being mentioned here by Lord Narayan himself. So, when they are not interested even in these liberated positions, then you can know how little they care for material opulences or material liberation. Now we move on to 10th canto, 16th chapter, verse 37. There is a similar prayer by the Nagapatnis, the wives of the Kaliya serpent. So the Nagapatnis say there, Dear Lord, the dust of your lotus feet is very wonderful. Any person who is fortunate enough to achieve this dust, he does not care for heavenly planets, lordship over all the planetary systems, mystic perfections of yoga, or even liberation from material existence. In other words, anyone who adores the dust of your lotus feet does not care a fig for all other perfectional stages. Yes. This is the thing about Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Whatever verses that we're hearing, these were directly quoted by Rupa Goswami. He wrote them down in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is the Praman. So authoritative is this book. And Prabhupada gave the summary study of it for us.
It's pretty amazing because he's quoting so much Srimad Bhagavatam, but at this time, 1970, when it came out, we didn't have many of these books.
Yeah, we didn't have those other cantos.
He's going from 50.
But we're getting a little what do you call it? A little pre-taste or whatever. Preview.
But you can see how thoroughly Srila Prabhupada knows the Bhagavatam. He's just like skipping around.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't even translated yet into English, but here he's giving translation for these different verses.
Yeah.
In the context.
Yeah.
In the context. And also giving a purport, because as Prabhupada is, quoting these verses, then he's also giving the purport to them. So, there is a similar statement in the 10th canto, again, 87th chapter, verse 21.
Can I just say something about these Nagapatnis?
Yes.
They said that prayer after their husband had become surrendered, because Krishna just like stomped on his heads again and again, and he kept trying to rebel against him, and his wives didn't really like him so much because he wasn't a Vaishnava, and so they had thought, well, this is a good way for him to die, and we'll just become widows, and then we can really worship Lord Krishna. And but then he, because of their association, he actually surrendered to Krishna.
Yeah.
And then the wives are going, wow, now our husband's a Vaishnava. That's really amazing. And then they say these beautiful prayers to Krishna, and they're saying because of he was so cruel and so horrible, but because you have what has he done to get your feet on his head, dancing, and then they're glorifying the dust of Krishna's lotus feet.
Yeah, that's true. You're reminding me how Gurudev pointed that out, because they were Vaishnavas, and then just like when we sing in the morning, the Jai Radhe Jai Krishna song, right? So then it says, Jaya Dvijapatni Jaya Naga Kanyagani Bhakti Te Jahara Pailo Govinda Charam. They attained the lotus feet of Govinda through their bhakti, both these two categories of female devotees, the Nagapatnis and the Dvijapatnis. And also in the case of the Dvijapatnis, their husbands also were woken up and began to curse their own religiosity and rituals, and to glorify their wives who had pure devotion for Krishna.
But they were afraid to come to Krishna because they still had fear of Kamsa.
Ah, yes. Yes. So they had to wait till next life. Okay, so in this 87th chapter, how many chapters in 10th canto? 90. 30, 30, and 30. So this is 87th chapter. And this is where the Shrutis, the Vedas personified, are praying to the Lord. And they say as follows: Dear Lord, it is very difficult to understand spiritual knowledge. Your appearance here, just as you are, is to explain to us this most difficult subject of knowledge of the Spirit. As such, your devotees who have left their domestic comforts to associate with the liberated acharyas, teachers, they are now fully merged in the devotional service of your lordships. And your lordship, singular. And thus, they do not care for any so-called liberation. So they're directly praying to Krishna, who's there on the planet. I don't know whether this was at the Kurukshetra but they're praying to the Lord who has appeared and is giving all knowledge. Bhagavad Gita, Uddhava Gita, and showing by his own example in this world. And so, your appearance here just as you are, tattvataha, is to explain to us this most difficult subject of knowledge of the Spirit. And as such, your devotees who have left their domestic comforts to associate with the liberated acharyas, they are now fully merged in the devotional service of your Lordship, and thus they do not care for any so-called liberation. So, what a wonderful stage to come to in our devotional life. And we will come to that. We will. Because through the process given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Rupa Goswami, and Rupa Goswami and the 6 Goswamis are giving in this line, these stages will be surpassed one by one and attained. And then we will feel like this. We will have no other material desires and attachments, even liberation. We know theoretically, that theoretically the merging into the existence of the Lord is not desirable, right? But yet, in our heart, we feel sometimes so perplexed by the material reactions and sufferings that we're going through. I just want liberation. But not when someone comes to this stage. Now, in explaining this verse, here's Prabhupada's explanation. It should be noted that spiritual knowledge means understanding the self and the supersoul or superself. That's what spiritual knowledge is. The individual soul and the supersoul are qualitatively one, and therefore both of them are known as Brahman or spirit. But knowledge of Brahman is very difficult to understand. There are so many philosophers engaged in the matter of understanding the soul, but they are unable to make any tangible advancement. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that out of many millions of persons, only one or a few may know what is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this verse says that spiritual knowledge is very difficult to achieve. And so in order to make it more easily attainable, the Supreme Lord himself comes in his original form as Sri Krishna, and he gives his instruction directly to an associate like Arjuna, just so that the people in general, that they may take advantage of this spiritual knowledge. That's why. So this verse, it also explains that liberation means having completely given up all the material comforts of life. Those who are impersonalists are satisfied by simply being liberated from the material circumstances. But those who are devotees, they can automatically give up material life and also enjoy the transcendental bliss of hearing and chanting the wonderful activities of Lord Krishna. Yes. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Radha Govinda Ki Jai. Yes. So the impersonalists, they're seeking after this liberation. And they're satisfied by simply being liberated from the material circumstances. But those who are devotees, they can automatically give up material life and also enjoy the transcendental bliss of hearing and chanting the wonderful activities of Lord Krishna. That's where all the happiness is derived. from hearing and chanting the wonderful activities of Lord Krishna. So in our sadhana bhakti stage, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti stage, we must hear and chant, regulated. We must attend Bhagavat Katha, Krishna Katha. It's the most central of all the different practices that we do. But if we exclude that important practice, then how will we be able to make advancements? Even giving up the material things will not be possible. Why? Because you have to have something higher. So those of us oldies here, we always reflect on how we had such a golden opportunity in our very young period of our lives where we were living in an environment where everyone, without exception, unless they were sick and in their sleeping bag on the ashram floor and they couldn't move, but everyone was attending the Katha every day.
You heard that story of Padmanabha's disciple? Padmanabha used to come and visit New York, and he would visit with all his disciples. You know, he wasn't following any strictly. He asked, I forget his name now. Daruka. Later on became Dhananjaya in Florida. He said, so, Daruka, you are following the 4 regulative principles? Daruka said, I didn't know there was an option.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes. And that's true. It's so true. That was the atmosphere of the time. That there isn't an option. It's come on, there's no other option. You have to follow. But now it's flipped. Flipped to the other side.
It's flipped out.
There you go.
Yes. Now this disease has spread in a very effective way, where devotees have, how can we put it? They have succumbed. They have succumbed completely to the lower urges of the modes of nature, and they've also modified the process that you don't have to do it. And they've gotten many others to agree. Yeah, we don't have to do this. We're still devotees. You know, we accept the fact that some individuals like this, that they still are devotees. We accept that. We don't try to eliminate them from that category. They're devotees. And they have faith, and a lot of them, they like to do a lot of chanting and so forth, right? So these are all good, these are all positive, but what they don't know is that they're engaged in a deviation from the process given by Hari Guru and Vaishnavas, and the adverse effects will come. One of the main adverse effects is they'll become more and more attached to sinful activities. More and more attached to sinful activities. They'll become more and more controlled by the modes of material nature. And Maya Devi is just waiting there to give punishment. So punishment will come. Suffering will absolutely has to come. It cannot be avoided. So, but anyway, the jivas are coming into this life with the different samskaras from their previous lives and different tendencies and so forth. And it's all auspicious that anyone can have faith that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But there's a process for realizing this and experiencing it. We want to experience, that's the thing. Persons who are attracted to the lower indulgement of sinful activities is because they're not actually tasting. They're not tasting, you know. And that's unfortunate because the pure devotee has come and given directly from his lotus mouth. So much opportunity to taste, but still have to follow. Have to follow the process. And Gurudev told this. One time he was saying that Sri Guru I, as your Guru, I will show you the pathway. I'm going to show you, here's the pathway. And not only that, I will also walk with you on that pathway. And even I'll hold your hand, right? But I will not do what?
Carry you.
Yes, I will not carry you. You will have to walk on your own 2 feet. So this is what it means to actually adopt the process in one's life, and then the result comes from that. Very powerful process. We can never diminish this. It doesn't matter whether we're in that era when we were in big temples with so many devotees and everybody's following, or whether we're up on a mountaintop with just a few people around us. We have to follow in every single circumstance of our life. And when we do this, all blessings, all mercy, everything will come. We cannot advance without the mercy of Guru. And we should not think that that mercy is going to be poured upon us if we don't follow his instructions. You see? That's imaginary. That's not real. You see? So, the Yasya Prasada, the Bhagavat Prasada, if you get the mercy of Sri Guru, then you get Krishna's mercy. But Yasya Prasada na, if you fail to attain the mercy of Guru, then Nagati Gatopi. Your destination is not completely known. What will be your outcome? And this is a frightening thing, because Srila Prabhupada in one lecture, he's talking about, he said, you have to be very careful in this Kali Yuga. This is Kali Yuga. This is a very, very dangerous time. Very dangerous, because yes, if one does not properly follow, you may be pushed back into the lower species of life for any number of lifetimes. That also means aparads and offenses. It also means sinful activity, etc., etc. But that's why that should not necessarily only that be our motivation, but that should be part of our motivation, is fear that I will fall back. That's what Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is called. It's called Shastra Avadaranamayi Shraddha. That means that your faith and your Shraddha is impelled by the rulings of the Shastra. And Gurudev explains in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu that there is some fear element there, that if I don't follow, I'll go to hell, or I'll have to suffer, you see. So that's necessary in the early stages, to have such a healthy fear. And I pointed this out the other day, that Srila Prabhupada said, the problem with you Western devotees is you're not afraid of Maya. But actually Maya is very fearful, very fearful. So everyone eventually will have to come in the proper line. If they don't do it in this lifetime, then it cannot be guaranteed what will be their destination. Even if born in a very favorable situation, but then you don't use that, right? Now, none of us can understand how Krishna may give his mercy or his help to bring a jiva back. That's all going on personally by the Lord within the heart and every soul, every jiva. So we don't know, right? In course of time, a person can be corrected, but nevertheless, it's very, very dangerous. So we don't want to subject ourselves to such a dangerous situation in our life, because our life has become all auspicious. Why should we want to dampen that? You know, no, we should follow properly, strictly, be a good devotee, and do the very, very best that we can, and try to increase that even, you know. Try to always be diligent and always following the process, and then our life becomes completely auspicious, actually. And even if physically we're suffering or in various other ways, but our heart is happy and satisfied internally, because we're following the process given by the Lord and his pure devotees. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki jai, Shri Rupa Goswami Pada ki jai, Jai Shri Nectar of Devotion ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Did you stop it yet?
And the exact one like yours.